So what happens when the Scarlet Speedster and the Emerald Archer finally meet? Well, you get a TV crossover epic on the CW. Welcome everybody to Just Nerds. I'm Blake, and I'll be reviewing this highly anticipated crossover special. And this is also my first lone review, so I'm pretty excited, and hopefully I do a good job. Anyways, so The Flash and Arrow have crossed over on the CW in their respective shows. These two episodes were pretty jam-packed with content for both shows, and, well, here we are to review the clash. So when it was announced that The Flash was going to be joining the Arrow for a two-part crossover, every superhero fan we ever talked to was pretty excited, and me and the guys were right along with them. We set our DVRs and watched both the episodes, and now let's get right into that review. But before we actually review the episodes themselves, let's start with a very brief plot summary. I'm warning you guys now, however, we will be spoiling this story, so if you want to avoid that, you can leave now, watch the episode, and come back later. But for now, let's jump into that story. Okay, so on the episode Flash vs. Arrow, for the Flash's episode, a new metahuman named Prism, or Rainbow Rider, arrives with the power to cause people to converge into a frenzy of hatred, causing people to kill and beat up each other. While the Flash and the Star Labs crew begin to search for Prism, the Arrow, aka Oliver Queen, Felicity, and Diggle are also in Central City looking for some information on a mysterious man who uses boomerangs to kill people. Foreshadowing. Anyway, so Prism manages to get a hold of the Flash and hypnotizes him to get mad at everybody and start acting like a jerk. Then things get a little bit more serious when Barry actually begins to hurt people, specifically Eddie Thawne. So the only person who can stop him is the Arrow himself, who engages the Flash in combat. After the two have a fight, the Flash manages to get restored to normal by means of flashing colorful lights. That sounds stupid when I say it. But yeah, that ends the fight in a tie, so, well, yeah. After the two manage to catch Prism, which I guess I should note that they never show how they catch him, they just do. The Flash apologizes to everybody and Oliver for all the mean things he said, and Oliver and the gang head back to Starling City saying see you next week. Well, they don't literally say that, but they might as well have, because the next episode takes place the week after, so there you have it. Okay, now let's review this thing. In terms of story as a whole, it's nothing special. I know that sounds a little harsh, but to be honest, I've just seen it done before, namely in other superhero shows, like Batman the Brave and the Bold, where Superman fights Batman because he is infected with red kryptonite. Sure, these two aren't exactly the same, but they are very, very similar. Seriously, there isn't anything here that we haven't seen before, which made the episode feel predictable and kind of bland. Yet the story fulfills its purpose to put the two heroes against each other, and I guess that's what really matters? Now, in terms of how the characters interact and their dialogue, I think that's where the episode really begins to shine. Can I just say that I love the way that Diggle and Cisco start to actually bet on who will win the fight between the two heroes? I thought that part was pretty great. I also love Diggle's reaction to seeing Barry as the Flash. It just fits so well. Also, the fight between the two heroes was amazing. Seriously, I must say that this was a pretty awesome fight. Prism was there for his purpose, and then he was pretty much done with and captured over a commercial break, which feels pretty underwhelming if you ask me. Now, Jonathan thinks that the Arrow didn't have much screen time in this episode, and because of that, he felt shoehorned into the story. I would agree to some extent and say that I wish Arrow had more screen time, but if you ask me, he seemed to be a pretty strong presence in the episode, so I'm okay there. I also loved the closing of the episode when they gave you a preview of Firestorm, which I thought was pretty awesome. And beyond that, I'm glad that they're actually going to show the consequences of Barry's rage fiasco with Iris pretty much turning her back on the Flash. To sum it all up, this was a pretty good episode. The story felt too familiar to be anything exciting, and the villain was pretty underwhelming. But beyond that, you have some great character interaction and dialogue, and an amazing fight between two heroes that helped to make this episode feel much better. Okay, now let's move on to the Arrow crossover. But before we begin the review, let's again go into that plot. The episode The Brave and the Bold in the Arrow series has Arrow, Diggle, and Speedy/Arsenal, because they can't decide what to call him, chasing after Captain Boomerang, who was actually after Diggle's not-wife, Lila. After Captain Boomerang kills pretty much everybody in the Argus building, and the Flash saves Arrow from being boomeranged, the team takes Lila back to the Arrow Cave, as they call it, to keep her safe. The Flash and Arrow search for Boomerang and get sent on a wild goose chase where the Arrow tortures people, and the Flash isn't very comfortable with that, only to later find that, surprise, Boomerang is in the Arrow Cave. I would have reacted a little bit more shocked to this if it hadn't already been done with Deathstroke, Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and, well, just about everybody else. Yeah, seriously, Green Arrow sucks at keeping this place secure. Anyways, Captain Boomerang manages to hit Lila in the chest with a boomerang, and the Flash rushes her to a hospital. After that, the two heroes manage to track Boomerang down, only to see that he has one final trick up his sleeve by stating that he has planted 5 bombs that will go up in 90 seconds. The Flash, with assistance from the team, manages to deactivate the 5 bombs while leaving the Arrow to finish Captain Boomerang. They stop him and send him off to be cellmates with Slade Wilson. Yeah, Captain Boomerang and Deathstroke are cellmates. Did somebody say prison break? Anyway, so the two heroes manage to head to an abandoned warehouse where they say that they are sorry for all the bad stuff and begin to fight to see who would really win since the last fight ended in a tie. Alright, so the Arrow episode kind of suffers from the same problems as the Flash episode, except for this time, Captain Boomerang is a much more extreme and awesome villain. The story, yet again, however, takes after another Batman vs. Superman episode, this time in Superman the Animated Series, where Batman comes to Metropolis and uses his extreme methods, while Superman doesn't like that. And the episode ends with the two heroes still being buddies while not really changing their tactics or personalities at all. So yeah, same thing, same problem to an extent. I think that the plot wasn't as predictable as the Flash crossover, yet it's still sort of a copy. I will say, however, that I think the character interactions are better in this episode, and if you ask me, more humorous. I especially like the scenes where Cisco finally gets to go into the Arrow Cave, although I think only a few lines of dialogue are questionable. Because, like what Captain Boomerang said, what goes around comes around, huh? Huh? Get it? Because he throws boomerangs? Yeah, I know, that line kind of got to me too. I'm not sure if this line was meant to be funny or serious, but the way he says it makes it feel like it can go either way, so okay. The Flash plays a sufficient role in this episode, even though the focus is still on Oliver, so no problem there. Although me and Jonathan can agree, though, that Arrow seems to be a little bit too much like Batman. This isn't a problem that is exclusive to this episode, but it feels like it can't be ignored even more so here. The fact that Oliver loses his humanity by being Arrow just screams Batman to me. Beyond that, however, this episode does another great job with its more humorous dialogue and character interactions, along with its less predictable yet still copied story. Overall, these two episodes do a great job of combining the two heroes and really raising some good conflict between the two while not taking anything away from the shows themselves. We can honestly say that these two episodes are really awesome and have been very enjoyable to watch, even though they do have their seemingly knockoff moments. Regardless, though, these two episodes are really great and do a good job in showing what happens when the Flash meets Green Arrow. Thank you guys for watching our review. I hope you enjoyed it, but now it's your turn to get in on the review. Go down to the comment box below and tell us what your favorite episode was and what you think about the crossover special as a whole. And seeing how this is my first review, if you want to help me improve on making these reviews sound better, please give me some critique below. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video.